And we are live. What's good, Josh Mandel Saint? Welcome. I really want no podcast. How y'all doing, man? It's Thursday. It is Thursday, man. I hope you guys are doing all right. One more day to the weekend. Hope you guys doing all right. It's a lot going on. We're always trying over here to make the show more interesting and fun and, cover as much stuff as we want. That's why we have the title, I Really Want to Know, because there's so much going on and I'm interested in everything. Hold on 1 second. Yep.
Do I get the minis or the
Get the minis.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. My daughter loves to go out for her afternoon walks. She go to the corner store. She's getting her freedom, guys. So it's like, I'm like, anything goes wrong, you call me. She's calling me and she's asking me, do I get this or do I get that? I'm like, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to jump up and go do something. But anyway, Thursdays, man, we're calling it Trump Thursdays, where we talk about politics in the U.S. and also abroad and whatever's breaking in the news. So, hey, let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed, man. I hope you guys are good. Brother Dino's in the building already. What's good, fam? It's like tsunami warning issued after magnitude 7 earthquake strikes California. Bro, I was setting up and I saw that, brother. And so we got a quick little clip we're going to look at here in a second about that. Man, magnitude 7, man. 7.0 earthquake, man. That's pretty big. Pretty big. Pretty big indeed. So let me make some changes here to the format because I had the show all set up, but we're going to start off with just that quick little news blurb. So when we're ready for it, we have it there all queued up, ready to go. So that's what's up, man. I see you, fam. We got brother Michael Lee in the building. What's good, fam? Mr. Recreational Use himself. I ain't mad at you, bro. Yeah, that always makes me laugh, man. We got old Joe in the building. What's good, fam? What's good, fam? Good to see you, man. I hope all is well up north, man. What's the weather like up there, bro? Because we had a cold front come through down here in the U.S., man, and this boy just dumped a bunch of snow and cold weather Midwest and the Midwest and the Northeast. It's even colder than normal down here in Florida, bro. Like all week long, wake up and it's like in the like high 30s, which is absolutely freezing. For Florida, you like 37, 36, 38 in the morning. And then, of course, it warms up to about maybe 60. Keeping in mind the average is around 70. So people are walking around here hating life, man. I wonder what's like up there. We got Peace Boy John 420 was good. I hope that Trump can prevent what Biden escalated. Trump acknowledges Jesus like a king. Trump is one of the biggest sinners I've ever come across. But hey, man, who am I to throw stones, right? What did they say, man? He who's without sin, cast the first stone. But you should know, Peace Boy, I am not a Trumper, but I am Team America. So fingers crossed. I hope this works out for America. We're going to talk about that as we move forward. But America survived the first term. We'll survive the second. I'm just not a fan of Donald Trump. I'm a military guy. I'm just not, draft dodgers, not my thing. But that's an American right. You know what I mean? You ain't got to serve. You don't have to serve. I don't expect everybody to be airborne, but you should be. Every last one of y'all should be airborne. So welcome, Peace Boy John. Welcome, brother Mike Lee. Like Saints, when are you coming back to Fresh and Fit podcast, brother? Hey, man. Time heals all wounds, bro. Those are my guys, man. My feelings for Miami the Fresh have never changed, bro. I respect them. I consider them friends. It was one project that went sideways. There was a snake in the grass. There was whatever. But I do know this about Miami the Fresh, man. They're not known to hold grudges. So and I'm just really working hard up here. I got some things going on here in Central Florida that's keeping my attention here. So, I welcome the day when we get to, sit down. I'm sure I'll bump into Fresh, on one of my trips when I'm in Miami doing my thing. I'm almost certain I'll bump into him. And, I do look forward to that. You know what I mean? And Brother John, yeah, all respect to you, bro. I'm glad you're here, man, because we're gonna talk, and I really do want to hear your views on what I'm saying, because we're gonna be talking about everyone's saying all these negative things about Trump. Trump's gonna do this, Trump's gonna do that. Oh my God, the end of the world, blah blah blah. Right? And that's coming from those people, that half of the country that doesn't really like Trump. And then my thing is this, man, we have no idea what he's gonna do. We won't know until January 20th, bro. He doesn't even take office until January 20th. So, there's my thing is, wait and see. Let's see what happens. I like a lot of what Trump is talking about. Don't like the tone, but I like the core message, a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, man. So we'll see when we get into this, man. I look forward to hearing your feedback on what we what I'm going to be saying, and best, what's going on with Donald Trump. No, Joe, it's about 38 degrees up there in Canada, which doesn't sound too bad, bro. It's above freezing. Yep, just above freezing. Further north, 20 degrees below. Whew. Yeah, man. I look forward to coming to Canada, man. I haven't been there in a minute. And Brother Peace was like, it's independent and I'm more about freedom. Me too, bro. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here, man. You're definitely welcome. We're so glad to have you, and look forward to, seeing your feedback here and what's going on, man. Like, I want what's best for America and all Americans. Man, we just got, everyone's on the edge, bro. Everyone's on the edge right now. And, I just, you seeing what I'm seeing out there. The left is like, why did they lose and this and that? And just, they really don't even want to address the true issues as to why they lost. And I mean, to me, it's readily apparent you lost because you walked away from men. So, like, the left has a lot of work to do. It's like, bro, even when I sit down with my friends, it's like, there's nothing here that we discuss in an hour conversation about what's wrong with America and these issues. We never discussed at one point about issues concerning men. And then my friends just look at me like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, we talked about everything else but men. And you asking me how you lost the election. Go look at the results, bro. Men went the other way. And it's not that they're like, oh, they're just misogynists and, they hate America. And like, no, they're just regular dudes who are looking to get help as well. And no one wants to be ignored, or no one wants to be looked down upon, and no one wants to be, called names and this and that. I get it. They went the other way. You know what I mean? And if the liberals don't accept this, they're going to continue to have these problems. Sister Navo's in the building. What's good? Always a pleasure to see you. So, yeah, let's look at what brother Dino sent us, and about the earthquake in California, because this is the first I've heard of this. I've been looking at all sorts of stuff. This one I missed. A 7, I guess, is a 7.0 or greater earthquake hit California. I think Northern California. Let's look at this. Let's check this out, guys.
Good morning and welcome to the KTLA 5 Morning News at 11 a.m. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker. Thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news this morning. We're learning a preliminary magnitude 7.0 earthquake has just struck off the coast near Eureka, California, and a tsunami warning has been issued.
Now, we are hearing reports of shaking throughout the Bay Area, and a student at UC Santa Cruz tells us he also received an emergency alert for a potential tsunami. Right now, there are no reports of any major damage. We are following the latest, and we will get you that information when it comes in.
All right, that was quick and to the point. That was my bad. That was quick and to the point, but yeah, there you have it. 7.0 magnitude earthquake hit Northern California. Looks like it hit the Bay Area. I guess around 2:00 or so Eastern time. It's crazy. That's one thing I do not miss about California, man. I don't miss the earthquakes, bro. I've been through a lot, bro, and earthquakes are, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness. Earthquakes are crazy, bro. I can deal with tornadoes. I can deal with flooding. I can deal with hurricanes, but earthquakes, man, oh my goodness. That, bro, that is just to be sitting on the ground and then everything starts shaking, bro. Craziness. That's one thing. I'll go back to the Midwest and deal with tornadoes and cold before I go to California and deal with earthquakes again, man. I'm here to tell you, man. So I hope you're good out there, sis. on your side of it. I hope you good, sis, because that is crazy. And a lot of those earthquakes, man, they'll hit off the coast, so they're like in the water, so you might only feel a little bit of shaking. Sometimes, the earthquakes, they'll be centered like right there where you are, and you see the ground move and stuff like that. Man, I'm telling you, bro, it is insane. But yeah, I can't. I tell people all the time, like, pick your own poison. I'm cool out here, man. I don't need those earthquakes. I don't need it. And when that big earthquake hits, and look, it's just like we haven't been having them like the rest of the world. It only takes one big one, girl. It only takes one big one, and it changes everything. Whereas with hurricanes and tornadoes, man, you can run from them. Like you can get in the basement, get away from a tornado, or you see a hurricane coming, you just get in the car and drive away. But earthquakes, girl, I can't do that. But I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad your people are cool. Your family's good. It seems like Northern California is okay. And then you have the tsunami warnings where, you might get a big wave come in. I hope that's not too bad, but that'll take some time to hit, if in fact it hits at all. Lady Neville was like, yeah, she hadn't won in over 20 years. Like the time I spent in LA, I can't count them all. I had too many earthquakes. And some small ones, some kind of medium-sized ones. But I missed the Northridge quake. That was devastating. And I work with people who lived through it. And I was there in 1998 when I first got there, and there was still damage from that earthquake. And they were still cleaning up. It was like crazy. So I ain't mad at you. And I got, people who live on the West Coast, just like you, they've been out there forever. They're like, no, I never had any drama like that. I've seen it. I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like it. You know what I mean? So I feel you, sis. It's crazy. I don't like it. I don't like it. But let's get into Trump and what's going on with his administration coming back. Trump's coming back to the White House, and let's look at some of the things that are going on. Like one of the big things that people are talking about are tariffs. Like Trump has been talking about tariffs like crazy. And when I first heard him talking about tariffs, I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, like, does he really understand how tariffs work? Because what he's saying doesn't really align. Like it could be a problem, especially for America, the way we're set up now. Like we import everything and we don't really export that much, but we really import stuff. So like when if we put tariffs on people, then people are going to put tariffs on us. And who pays for this? If there's a tariff war, the average American pays. The people who are already suffering the most are the people who are going to be affected the most by something like that. So there, we got about an 8-minute video or so. And this is like from the Canadians. This is CBC. And it's the real impact of Trump's 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. I thought this was pretty cool. So let's check this out. Let me pull it up. And look at me. I'm struggling here on my producing side. I'm not, getting everything up and ready. There it is. So this video was pretty cool when it just kind of breaks down how tariffs works and the effects of tariffs and stuff like that, man. So let's check this out.
Donald Trump just threatened a 25% tariff.
The tariffs. The word tariff to me is the most beautiful word in the entire dictionary. We're going to tariff the hell out of them.
I am a tariff man.
On all goods coming into the United States from Canada and Mexico. That would raise the price on food, medicine, cars, oil, lumber, concrete. And Trump says it would be a day one priority after his inauguration.
It's a bit of, rinse, wash, repeat, and that cycle going on again.
Even more of a negative downward pressure on U.S. economic growth.
Experts are warning this could eventually impact our wallets.
Yeah, this could directly impact our wallets.
But there's one big problem when it comes to interpreting what Donald Trump is proposing here, because there's the policy and then there's the posturing, and it's not easy to tell which of the two is real.
And that's where I am with you right now. You look at what's going on with what Donald Trump says versus what Donald Trump plans to do, or what his administration wants to do. And again, it's like what I said at the very beginning of this. Like, okay, what does he really understand how tariff works? And then people, I talk to my folks who are anti-Trump, like, man, you don't understand nothing, man, you stupid. Da, da, da. I'm like, okay, I get that, but the people behind him aren't stupid. So there has to be some sort of method to the madness. And this is something we've heard before. It's not like this is, coming from out of left field somewhere. We've heard this before. So this is just, it's just what it is. Yeah, here's the thing with Trump and Republicans, they are the anti-tax people. Like they want to lower taxes, but when you mess with tariffs, you inadvertently raise tax. Like, tariff is a tax, especially on the poor. Someone's going to pay for this, and they do a good job of breaking it down in this. So, the Republicans, they especially the Trumpers, like not just tariffs, but like wanting to gut the government, wanting to destroy a lot of the cabinet level positions and these departments out here, like Department of Education. They want to get rid of that. There's talk about getting rid of the EPA and Department of Energy. They want to get rid of the IRS. So there's a lot of stuff that we're hearing, but what does it mean and how is this going to be implemented? Which again brings us back to the tariffs. What exactly do they mean by the tariffs? So let's continue.
Let's go through it.
The consequences are going to be devastating for Canada. The U.S. is our largest trading partner. Roughly 70% of the totality of our trade is with the United States.
A 25% tariff is effectively a 25% tax on whatever comes into the United States based on how expensive that thing is. So if a company's shipping in a $40,000 car, now it's a $50,000 car. The company pays the tax. That makes the vehicle more expensive for the consumer, and the US government pockets the difference.
The basic rule of supply is that if the price goes up, I want to produce more of this stuff. If the price goes down, I want to produce less. It means I need less workers, and so people start losing their jobs.
And this is
right, which we're seeing now in the US. There's a lot of companies that have been tightening their belts over the past 6 months or so. A lot of layoffs, people getting fired, they're not hiring as much. And then you couple that with people who are retiring, and a lot of these people are being like, look, either you can retire or we can lay you off type thing. So of course they're going to opt to retire or opt to move on. And then and what they're saying about the tariff, Donald Trump was threatening Mexico and Canada with a 25% tax and an additional 25% tariff and an additional 10% tariff on China and all their goods and services, whatever. So what are we doing here? At a time where Americans are suffering the most, the fact that Trump got elected, a lot of it is because of Americans believe that they're not doing well. One of the tenets of his campaign was like, hey, were you doing better when I was in office, or are you doing better now, kind of thing? Weren't you doing better 4 years ago, kind of thing? And a lot of people were like, yeah, it was PPP money and STEMI checks. And the government had, funneled so much money into the economy. Businesses had so much money, they didn't know what to do with. So they were just hiring people. Maybe they needed them, maybe they didn't, but people were getting hired. So yeah, you look back like, well, yeah, it was better. Eggs didn't cost as much, gas didn't cost as much. You get where I'm coming from. So now, a lot of people voted for him. A lot of fence sitters and maybe people who were, Democrats and liberals, like just pinched their nose and voted for him. And what are they going to get? They're going to get hit with tariffs, which is a tax, and it's going to affect them the most.
Big problem for a country like Canada, because last year it exported almost $600 billion worth of goods to the United States.
Wow.
That's more than 3/4 of all of Canada's exports. And Canada's trade relationship with the US is about 2/3 of this country's GDP. The top 5 exports: energy, that's mainly crude oil, and cars. And note, that includes car parts. The auto industry is a really good example of how damaging tariffs can be for those who have to pay them, because cars aren't just built in one country. The engine might be built in one place, the transmission in another. Then they're assembled in yet another place. And all of these components can cross national borders multiple times before they magically turn into a car. A tariff charges a tax every time they do.
That's insane. So y'all can see what we're talking about here. Now, you look at, the North American trade, what was that, NAFTA, North American Trade Agreement or whatever, under Clinton, which I think that was horrible for America. I was really shocked that the Dems were doing it and backing it and going so hard with it. But now you have stuff being made in different countries and have to come into America, go out of America, come back into America, and do all this stuff. And they're saying that each time the product crosses the border, there's going to be a tariff. And we're just talking about American tariffs on it. So when you start a tariff war, right, what happens? The other countries start slapping that slapping that tariff on America. So no one wins that. It goes back and forth. And again, now, you got a vehicle that, or whatever, you had a product that was, priced decent and it was doing pretty good. But now with all the tariffs, they got to add all that cost in there. So at the point of purchase, you're paying for it. The the company's not going to eat it. And the company's not going to sit there, oh, okay, fine, I'll just pay this extra 25%. No, they're going to pass that 25% on to you, if not more.
Average car crosses the border 7 or 8 times, 9 times over the course of its production. Trying to unwind that in a way that doesn't hurt American consumers is an incredibly difficult task. I spoke to one trade analyst in the United States who said, tinkering even a little bit with the fundamentals of that trade organization is like doing surgery without anesthesia.
And consider how some parts manufacturers have plants on both sides of the Canada-US border, and many ship parts between locations constantly. A company like that would have to completely rethink its supply chain, or else face 25% higher costs, sometimes multiple times for the same product.
If you're a manufacturer that is responsible for that supply chain, would you not just move your supply chain entirely into the US and forget the idea of having to deal with tariffs entirely?
And that's probably the motivation behind it all. It's like, hey, let's bring these jobs, let's bring these factories back to America. And again, I agree with the concept. America should be making more stuff. But if you're going to make stuff in America, it's going to cost more. The whole point of corporations wanting to move their operations to different countries, or go to China, India, Vietnam, right? It's because labor is cheaper there. Here in America, you're going to have to pay for it. Like, you have to pay a really good wage. You're going to have to pay medical more likely. You're going to have to, to deal with unions. You're going to have to deal with, regulation. You can only work people so hard. It's in other countries, they don't have to deal with that. The workers in, India and Vietnam, for instance, it's really tough for them. You heard the term sweatshop and all that, like these people just being worked to the bone. That's not going to happen in America. So if you bring these corporations back, you bring these factories back, which is good, but it's going to cost more money. So regardless, even with tariffs, the prices are going to go up, or if you're successful in getting companies and corporations to bring this manufacturing stuff back to the US, the prices are going to go up, and you're not going to be able to sell as much stuff. Now, the quality probably goes up big time in America with all the regulation and stuff like that. But the quality good that we get from China, the stuff is cheap, and that's why it floods the market. So again, when Trump talks about tariffs, I'm like, okay, I understand that America needs to bring back manufacturing. That's going to be more jobs for Americans, and that's going to help America. But if we do this tariff thing, boy, that's going to be a lot of pain.
There's the impact on everyday Americans.
Canada provides raw goods. We send energy, we send lumber, we send steel, we send grain. So American consumers, if these go ahead, are going to get clobbered by essentially taxes on everything they consume.
You know how much fruit and vegetables the U.S. imports from Canada and Mexico?
Nope.
According to the U.S. government, in 2022, about half of all fresh fruit and almost 90% of vegetables came from those two countries. All of that produce could become 25% more expensive, effectively overnight. Want to build a house? You might just be importing Canadian lumber and concrete. And the unfortunate side effect of tariffs is that they tend to start trade wars.
They put tariffs.
And this is the stuff now, okay, this is mainstream left, maybe center left news here, even if it's coming from Canada, even when it comes from the US. So there's going to be some fear mongering. I do understand that if you implement these tariffs, there's going to be some problems. Now, the question becomes, how do you implement the tariffs? Again, Donald Trump and the Trump administration, those people behind him, they understand this. And I doubt if you will see overnight these tariffs just come boom, but it could happen, right? And so it all depends on how you implement it. And, what do you're going to negotiate with these companies? Like, listen, bring this business back to America, or we're going to, hit you with this tariff. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Give them the opportunity to come back before you just, crack them over the head. How is it going to work? That's the part I was talking about. We don't know. We don't know. And we won't know until the Trump administration gets into office, and that's January 20th.
On some stuff, we put tariffs on some stuff.
Getting into a tariff war with the U.S. is like getting into a fight with a giant, where for every punch you throw, you get four, back at you.
The last time the U.S. played hardball with tariffs, they didn't ultimately go very far.
Canada is bracing not just for the impact of tariffs, but potentially a larger trade war.
When Trump was last president, tariffs were part of a negotiation. A U.S. tax on steel and aluminum led to this.
President Trump's trade tariffs on Canada are sparking retaliation. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau promising comparable tariffs on the U.S.
Polite, we're reasonable, but we also will not be pushed around.
And in 2018, it was a really strange assortment of American products that Canada slapped tariffs on. Everything from ketchup to oranges to whiskey. But Heinz is co-headquartered in Pennsylvania, a key swing state. Oranges are grown in Florida. Whiskey is made in Kentucky and Tennessee. These are all states that voted Republican. And that pressure worked.
Everything ultimately settled back down to business as usual.
And get this, that same year, the Trump administration was mulling over a 25% tariff on all vehicles imported into the United States. Sound familiar? There was backlash.
Tariffs on autos and auto parts will raise costs for our customers and their families.
And that threat was very soon lifted. Canada-U.S. trade normalized once again with an updated trade pact.
He's used.
Now, okay. So we hear all this talk about tariffs, and he was on a campaign trail, and now he's president-elect, and he's still making all this talk. It's like saber rattling, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But he's done it before, and nothing happened. But what did he get out of it? An updated trade agreement. Okay, cool. If that, if that's what you're doing here, that's the trick that you're going to use to get people to come back to the negotiation table. All right, that's great, but understand something. You did this before. They know this play. So are they going to be willing to come in, right? Are they going to come in and fall for the same game? We don't know.
Just trade threats to extract certain concessions from others. 2017, he threatened to pull out of NAFTA immediately. And then Canada and Mexico said, look, we're willing to renegotiate this agreement with you. And he said, fine, come to the table and we'll talk.
We spent the entire first term of the Trump presidency talking about what was bluster, what was a threat, what was real. And what we learned is that it was a little bit of everything, but it was mostly a leverage point in a negotiation.
Trump's forte is in controlling the conversation. He puts his opponents on the defensive.
He's always talked about the art of the deal and what a great negotiator he is. Is this really something that he wants, or is this something that he's going to use as a bargaining chip to get something else that he wants?
And we should bear in mind, almost every expert I've heard from so far has underscored the very important point that we are still very early in the game. Trump isn't even president yet. His inauguration is 2 months from now. That's potentially 2 months of back-channel negotiation. And this expression of policy, if we can call it that, was just a social media post. On January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders.
So right there, that's just making threats, getting big, right? Not even president yet, president-elect, like using his platform, Truth Social, which is gonna, put more eyes on his platform. It's gonna ultimately bring more money to his brand. I ain't mad at that. It is what it is. But he's not in a position to even negotiate with the heads of states of these different countries because we only have one president at a time. So this is just him sending the message out there, signaling one way. But what if these countries are like, nah, we just gonna do this tariff war thing? To me, that's scary. Like, what happens if they decide to play hardball too? Like, nah, you did this before, bro. So, we ain't filing for it. If that happens, will he follow through on the threat? You see what I mean? Kind of, you paint yourself into a corner. Now you got to do it, and then the political pressure comes. But here's the thing about political pressure and Trump in this second, go around. There's not going to be a third. This is it, right? This is it. This is his last term as president. So what does he care really about any kind of pressure? How can you pressure somebody that's like, bro, I ain't going to be here in 4 years, so I'm not worried about what you're saying. I'm about to do this. Could that happen? Again, we don't know.
That last quip about open borders is the other reason it's hard to gauge how serious a policy proposal this really is. Because in this post, Trump isn't giving any economic reason to impose tariffs, and he would gladly remove them under the following circumstances. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country.
He decided to attach immigration and drug problems at the border with trade. And that's the path forward. And whether they have anything to do with one another or not doesn't really matter at this point. At the end of the day, he's using this as a wedge, as a tactic, and as a piece of leverage to get us to the table with concessions.
So look, this is a hard threat to read. It's early, Trump can be unpredictable, and if he follows through, he would have to explain to an American public how he so passionately campaigned on a promise to reduce inflation when his day one executive order is to effectively make all North American imports more expensive. But he could follow through regardless. And having that threat out there, hanging over his enemies and his allies, does a lot of heavy lifting in a negotiation before anyone at the table has even said a word.
Shout out to dude. That was all right, man. That was all right. Shout out to our brothers and sisters up there in Canada, man. But you see how this plays. Trump is doing what he believes is best for America. This is what I think. This is my personal view. If your view is different, please let me know in the comments. And again, I'm not a Trumper, but I'm looking at what he's doing. And I'm like, if America could benefit, then I'm all for it. You look at, we want a better trade deal. Okay. Aren't we still under the trade deal that he negotiated last time? So you're going to go back and run the same play in hopes of getting back to the negotiation table and change it up again. So like they said with that part about immigration and drugs, we're going to tie immigration and drugs to trade, and we're going to get Mexico to help stem the tide of undocumented folks coming from Central America and from Mexico and trying to get into the U.S. Okay. And at the same time, we want to put more pressure on Mexico to fight the cartels so we can, stop these drugs that are coming across the border and hurting our Americans. Okay. And a lot of those drugs, by the way, come through the ports, not just through the border. But anyway, this is what he's trying to do. This is what he wants to negotiate. What if Mexico and Canada don't want to talk about that? Right. But, you look at what's going on in the news, and then they'll say like the Mexican president, I forget her name, like she's already willing to work with the Trump, this incoming Trump administration and, help turn the tide on undocumented people coming, through, trying to get asylum and whatnot, which is another issue altogether. We'll probably talk about that next week. The effects of, going after undocumented people in America and deporting them. We're going to talk about that next week. But this week, we're going to focus on tariffs. If you're using this as a means to an end, and the people you use like for leverage, and the people you're using this against is like, nah, they want to call your bluff. If in fact it's a bluff, what do you do? Because when you impose tariffs, people are going to get hurt. Americans are going to get hurt. American companies are going to be forced to do things that they don't want to do. They're going to be passing this, this tax down to the consumers. The consumers are already struggling. Like Americans are in so much debt, it's not even funny. And that's it. There's no more money. So it's tough for people just to survive, from day to day, week to week. And now you're doing something that's just going to cause an additional 25% tax on their fruits and vegetables and things like that. Come on. Like you're looking at, and we haven't even talked about China. So what is the plan? Like, what is Trump going to do? What's the Trump administration going to do? Man, we don't know. We don't know, but we do know a tariff and a tariff war is all bad for the United States of America. We do know that. So, this is just something for you guys to, kind of mull over. All these videos are linked in the description below. If you're watching this on Team Replay, man, go and, watch the videos again. It's just one of those things that right away caught my eye. Like, all right, Trump gets back into the White House. Is there going to be a tariff war? And then we're looking at, because he's already made these threats to Canada, to Mexico, to China. And he's also said some things about the BRICS nations, right? So you're looking at, what is that? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. He's telling them, you guys need to stop putting pressure on America, and more to the point, the American dollar. If you don't, we're going to impose 100% sanctions and tariffs on your countries. Okay. Like, so just the China part alone is just, that's going to be a problem. Like, people are barely making it. They're going to, places like Walmart, because those are the cheapest prices, and this is all they can really afford. More and more people are going to the dollar stores and the $5 stores and doing whatever they can do, buying day old stuff just to survive. And now you're threatening China with even more sanctions, more tariffs. What do you think is going to happen? Like, that's not a great move, in my opinion. Now, again, I think it's just talk. I think it's just like they were saying, it's a way to get these people to the table and discuss whatever issues or whatever the issues are, and then be able to work out some sort of agreement. But again, we won't know until the new administration gets into office. We won't know until we get Trump part 2. But he's kind of doing the same thing. Like, it's like the one trick pony. He's kind of doing the same thing. So, I'm just going to make this noise. I'm going to make these threats. I'm going to get these people to the table, and then we're going to work some sort of deal. We'll see how this plays out. But if he does, in fact, follow through on some tariffs, that'd be just really bad for America. Really bad for all of us. It'll suck, bro. It will suck. But even before, like, the election results were in, I was saying this about, Harris and Trump. I'm like, look, as far as I was concerned, 2 bad choices. And I also said way back then that it doesn't matter who wins, this next administration is going to have a hard time. America's in a bad place, and it's going to be tough. So when you're looking at the long play, the facts that the Republicans did win the White House, and they looks like they still are gonna, they won the House of Representatives as well. It's like it was a narrow margin. They still counting the votes in California. They have the Senate. They have the Supreme Court. There's no one to blame. And whatever is going to happen over the next 4 years is just going to be bad, because America is in such a bad state. And the blame game is the only thing that's going to be working. And you already see the Democrats blaming the Republicans, and like, bro, we're not even there yet. That's what the Republicans are saying. But it's, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. Now, on the thumbnail, you guys see a picture of Michael Surtain. That's one of my favorite, red pill adjacent, YouTubers out there. He has Men of Action, his group, and he's really out there helping dudes. Which, shout out to him, man. Shout out to Mike. Michael Surtain is, former Air Force. He's an officer in the Air Force, and his take on what's going on, in particular in Ukraine with Russia, is very similar to mine. This is why I got Surtain in the thumbnail, and also I have Putin in the thumbnail. The Ukraine conflict and what Putin is doing and what's going on with the people of Russia, this thing is only going to continue to smolder. I mean, if America didn't back Ukraine with weapons, with bombs, bullets, and band-aids, that's like I like to say, as weapons and support and intel and all that and training, that thing would have been over by now. but America and, you know, NATO countries, the West, they're backing the Ukrainians. And it was Biden after the election allowed Ukraine to use long range weapons any way they see fit. And they were striking inside of Russia, causing a lot of damage. You know, Putin has worked a deal with the North Koreans. Allegedly you have North Korean soldiers on the front lines fighting Ukrainians, and like it's complete mess. So there's a lot going on over there. Michael Sartain was talking about this, and I was like, this would be good to showcase here. And a lot of people who are like hardcore Trumpers, you know, when you have these conversations, when you bring this stuff up, they don't like hearing it. It's like, bro, this is just conversation. Like you need to hear these perspectives. Right? You need to understand what's going on. I've been talking to Republican friends and Trumpers alike, and when we talk about Ukraine in particular, it seems to me that they're all pro Putin, and I don't understand why that is. Like I don't get that. You know, and I tell them all the time, like, bro, am I hearing you correctly? Like, you are on the side of what Putin is doing. You cool with this? Well, America shouldn't be involved, and we shouldn't be done. I'm like, but you know, now a lot of it I chalk up. I'm like, look, bro, I was in the Army from 90 to 94. I was active. I only count my active time. I don't count my reserve time. But you know, we trained to fight those people, bro. Like that's who we trained to fight, man. Russians and Chinese. Like we were going after communism and communists wherever they were. That's who we trained to fight. So it blows my mind that Americans seem to be backing what Putin is doing, and what he's doing is absolutely horrific. And I tell folks all the time, like, look, bro, like the only thing that Putin did was expose how his military and military might was, it's just the Russian military was a paper tiger. I thought that the Russian military was the second most powerful military on the planet, behind America. And after this Ukraine thing, I was like, oh my God, this dude, I don't think he can beat the Syrians. Like this dude, this is bad. This is real bad. So, wow, he's really nothing. And it doesn't mean anything for us as far as Americans. We look at what's going on in Ukraine and dealing with the Russians. Like we ain't worried about the Russians, but the Europeans, they thought that his military was significant, and they see that, oh, paper tiger, this dude ain't got a military. So they're looking at him like, yo, we can take him. And the only thing that's probably keeping them from doing that is the fact that the Russians have nukes. Putin has nukes. So let's listen to what brother Michael Sartain has to say about this. And then we're talking about Russia invasion into Ukraine is the most pointless invasion. This is the title of this video. Let's check this out.
Dude, last time we spoke was just before the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
That was, you had me on your podcast and we talked about it. And you're like, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
And we're like, nah, everything's super chill. Because the Ukrainians themselves didn't fucking believe it.
Yeah.
I've actually had friends that work in the military, and they're like, oh, super unlikely. The West is just blowing it up.
Well,
look at us.
They were pretty ready.
Who, the Russians, you mean? Or?
No, the Ukrainians. I will say this, when you start off with your first clip, the Russian invasion of Ukraine will go down as the dumbest land invasion in the last 500 years. Like literally, like it's in the end, they will lose more people. It's going to be an utter and complete disaster for Russia because a couple of things. Remember when you and I were having this discussion, Russia was telling everyone they weren't going to invade. So will anyone ever do business with Russia again? Do you any country ever trust Russia again? Number one. Number two, you're in Helsinki right now, right?
Yeah.
You know what Helsinki has? F-35s because they joined NATO. And Russia said, if you join NATO, we're going to nuke you. And they didn't do that. They didn't back up.
Who knows if there are damn nukes even still work?
That I don't think they work at all. That's it. That's the other thing I've said is that. We're gonna get really nerdy here.
So right off rip, once Putin committed the Russian military forces to the invasion of Ukraine, and he couldn't take Ukraine in a day, which it should only take a few hours to do it. Just imagine if America decided to invade Texas. Let's say Texas was his own country. And just to think of American might, and you got a place like, let's say Texas doesn't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of weapons. Only weapons they have are the stuff that we left behind when we left the state or whatever. And then some years later, we decided to invade, and we couldn't take that country within, a matter of hours. People be looking at us sideways like, what's going on, America? How is it that small country can hold up to y'all? Just imagine, like, look at Canada and look at Mexico. If America decided to invade its neighbors, how long would it take for us, to beat the Mexicans? It wouldn't take a day with America's military might. And Russia was supposed to be just as strong as we were, just, slightly less. And they couldn't take this little country on their border. So that's why they're saying things like, oh, he's threatening us with nukes. Like, well, do the nukes work? The one thing we learned with the invasion of Ukraine is that all of their equipment was in disarray. Like, it just didn't work. The tires were flat. They ran out of gas. The logistics was messed up. The soldiers didn't know what they were doing. We saw all this. It's like, yo, what the hell are they doing? And then you got to remember, the Ukrainians were able to stop the Russians without help from the West. They stopped the initial push on their own in order for them to continue to push the Russians back. That's what they needed help for that. No one thought that that the Ukrainians would last more than a couple of days, let alone almost 3 years now. So when you look at how the Russians run their military and all of the thievery going on, you got, these generals are telling Putin, like, yeah, our forces are ready. We're top tier. We're ready to go. No one can stop us. And, they're showing them the good equipment. Like, look, our equipment is up to par. And, they got the good stuff in the parades, but the main, stuff, like everything else just didn't work. Soldiers didn't have training. Soldiers didn't have body armor. Soldiers were getting weapons that didn't work. They had a hard time, getting ammunition to their guys. If the generals and the senior officers were lost in battle, the rest of the soldiers didn't know what to do. All that came out. And it's like, oh man, these people ain't nothing when it comes to military. So if you can't keep your trucks and stuff straight, how are you keeping your nukes up to par? Like, the one thing about American weapons, they know American weapons work. They work the first time and they work every time. So, but I'm not sure. I'm with Certainment. I'm not sure, right? If those Russian nukes, I mean, bro, is the plutonium even there? Like, who knows what's going on over there, man? Those Russian oligarchs, those Russian generals, man, they were just robbing the Russian people blind. They're just taking money and stuff and selling it and making themselves rich. So it's crazy. We got Brother Dom in the building. What's good, fam? So they don't want to destroy the land. They want to invade it and still use it. But look at Ukraine, man. It's absolutely devastated, man. So they've done a lot of destruction, man. They could destroy it completely in a week if they wanted to. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all, bro. They're just looking at the way that they're moving. They're in disarray. I don't believe that at all. And the tactics that they're using, it's like they haven't graduated from World War II tactics, bro. It's just throwing waves of people at the problem is not, it's like a meat grinder, bro. It just doesn't make any sense. And here's the thing. How is it that they couldn't take Kyiv? I mean, you just go there, you take Kyiv, it's pretty much over. You're going to have to deal with an insurgency, of course. But look at all of the tanks that they're losing. Look at all of the artillery pieces that they're losing. Now they're starting to lose air assets, man. They're starting to lose their airplanes because, they got F-16s over there and, really good surface-to-air missiles over there. Look at their Navy, bro. Like the Ukrainians have done a really good job of just holding the line and just grinding down the Russians. Like and now Putin's he's in a position where his whole economy is based on this war. Like if the war stops, their economy just might collapse. Because right now everyone's working to try to build tanks because they're losing all these tanks and they're making ammo and they're making weapons and they're doing all this stuff. I mean, it's kind of crazy, bro. Like from a military standpoint, man, this thing should have been over in less than 18 hours. Real talk. Like real talk, bro. So there's a lot going on. And then you look at the nuclear option. Like Putin's not sitting there, in the bunker with his literal finger on the button. He has to give the order for someone to launch. And will those Russians do it? Like, how far will the Russian military and those Russian, like his underlings, how far will they go? Because everyone knows if they launch a nuke, it's a wrap. They're gonna have to deal with the consequences. And it's not just America, man. Britain has nukes. Now you look at that, like we're not the only country with nukes, bro. Like, so they're gonna have to. The Russians are gonna have to deal with that. Will the Russians allow Putin to get them utterly wiped off the face of the earth? I don't think so, man. I don't think so, brother. Dino, or question Dino. I gotta undo my thing, bro. Sorry about that. If they could stop India and China buying the Russian energy, this will be over. That's another thing too. Yeah, like that money is keeping them in the fight. Like, and bro, you got cheap energy, man. Someone's gonna buy it. So, and then having the North Koreans needing the North Koreans to come in there because you're running out of men, you're running out of equipment. This looks bad for Russia, bro. I'm just keeping it 100. Like, it just doesn't seem to me. Putin believed what he was being told. He read his reports, right? He's looking at this like he knew he was going to invade. He's reading everything like, okay, my troops are ready. My special forces, my airborne guys are ready. My infantry guys are ready. We have these tanks. We have, we have these artillery pieces. We have our Air Force. We should have complete air superiority within the first few hours. We're going to hit these major airports with our airborne assets. And and in his mind, he's like, this thing will be over within, 6 to, 18 hours or something like that. But it was the Ukrainians who were able to stop the airborne elements from taking their airports and pushing them back. And then the logistics wasn't there, even though they said they had the logistical capability to do this. So when all this unfolded, Putin's looking at this. Putin's not a dumb man. He's looking at this. He's like, man, these dudes have been lying to me. And now we're in it. He's stuck. He didn't, his readiness wasn't what he was told it was. It wasn't what he was showed. He looked and read the paperwork. They fooled him. And now he's stuck. I just, I know the people of Ukraine are tired of fighting, but I don't think they want to give up their home. It's like, I don't think the people who turn the keys know when it's a test and when it's not a test to send the nukes. That's a good point. You never know when this is, but they understand where they are right now. So, if the orders came down to do it and they're looking at their radar, they're looking at their equipment, they don't see any incoming, right? I.e., there's no American missiles in the air. There are no missiles coming from Great Britain or whatever. There are no nukes in the air. I think they realize, like, hey man, we're going to be doing the preemptive strike here and it's over if we do it. So will they do it? Like Trump has a string of Trump. I keep saying Trump. I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean Trump. I'm not trying to say that they're the same person. I'm not. Trump is nowhere near as bad as Putin in my book. Putin has a stranglehold on the Russian people. They are terrified of him. I would be too. I mean, he pushes people. He has people dropped out of buildings. He blows up airplanes of his enemies. He'll send his spies out, man, to shoot you up with plutonium, have you glowing in the dark, man. Like, the guy put you in prison forever. I get why they're afraid of him. But you would think they would be more afraid, right, of thermonuclear destruction. So I'm with you on that, bro. Like, the training versus real world, but these guys know what's going on in the real world, and they do have equipment. Now, of course, you can manipulate their equipment and make it look like they're, missiles inbound or whatever, and they're thinking like, oh, this is just an exercise. They launch, and then only to find out that no, they've been tricked. So to your point, yeah, you could probably pull that off and trick some people into launching. But man, that's crazy, man. And Russia does have limited planes in Syria. Syria has issues now. Like, they just lost Aleppo. I think they're losing, and they're in danger of losing other cities. Like, the rebellion has sparked up again, and it was Russia that helped Assad, bring those guys to the table and work out some sort of deal. Now Russia is bogged down in Ukraine, and they're not in a position to help the Syrians, which means the Syrians will probably stop sending drones to Russia so they can focus on their issues in their country. You see how this stuff is starting to unfold and unravel. So, yeah, man, Russia's got some problems, bro. Russia's got some problems. And okay. Say the Russian people have been brainwashed and believing NATO wants to bomb them. I can see that happening. I can see that happening as well. But let's continue with the video.
Tritium, which is one of the elements that is used to detonate a nuclear device.
Yeah.
It shrinks its half-life. It loses its mass 5% every year. That's incredibly expensive and extremely unique skill set in order to be able to redo that. And Russia has the GDP of Mexico. Let me say that one more time. Russia and Mexico have the same GDP. You know about Mexico's nuclear arsenal, right? You know all about that? Mexico's no. I'm sorry. People just don't. Their Sukhoi 57s don't work. Their tanks are getting blown up. And when you look at it now, normally when you have an invading force and you have an incumbent force like Ukraine, they're going to have an advantage because they're entrenched. Does that make sense? When you're fighting on your home turf,
you need to outnumber by 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. So because of supply lines, it's going to make it progressively more and more difficult for you to invade. And so that's one of the other issues has. But in the end, what's going to happen is there's only 3 countries that are going to do business with Russia after this is over, which is South Africa, India, and China, and they are going to destroy Russia's economy because of what happened here. Because it's not.
How are they going to destroy their?
Because no other countries want to do business with Russia as long as Putin's in power, and nobody wants to see it like that. They want to see Putin as like this outstanding bastion for conservatism. And I'm a conservative, but they're trying to equate Putin with Donald Trump, and it's like this has nothing to do with our political elections. I don't know. This is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. It's just one of the. The Russians thought they were going to win in 10 days, and they got mollywopped, and they didn't expect to have what happened. Here's the ultimate expression of what's going on. The Russians are introducing their new team. Oh, this is the last part. This is a really horrible thing that happened in Russia. Russia's introducing their Sukhoi 57s, their T-90 tanks. And when they're doing so, what's happening is the T-90 tanks are getting fucking mollywopped because this is, not to get too weird here, but the loading station for the artillery for the shells is on the same level as the turret. Mm-hmm. And so the United States is selling these $500,000 javelins to the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are shooting them. They come down on top of the tank, and you'll see all over the battlefield there's these Russian T-90s with the turrets popped off the top because they're igniting the shells. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying? It's a design flaw. Well, now the entire world, guess what they don't want to buy anymore? Russian T-90 tanks anymore. So Russia has not only screwed themselves politically and economically.
Damn, guys, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. Right? You look at what's going on in Ukraine, and that is Americans saying, hey, look what we have for sale. And the Russians are saying, look what we have for sale. And you don't need just a javelin to blow the top off of these Russian T-90 tanks. The Ukrainians are doing it with like $50, drones. They're doing it with like $500 drones with C4 strapped to it or a mortar round strapped to it. And they know what spot to fly that drone into on the tank. Boom. And it ignites the ammo and then it pops the turret off, right? That doesn't happen with a Bradley. That doesn't happen with an Abrams, right? So if you're in some country and you're looking to buy some weapons of war, you're looking at, okay, let's see how this stuff works. And you look at the Russian stuff, you look at American stuff. It's like, yeah, man, let me get one of them American. Can I get an F-16? How much of those F-16s, bro? Like, can I get an Abrams? How much of those? Let me get a few of those Bradley fighting vehicles with that Bushmaster chain gun and just cutting through the enemy armor out there. Like, bro, I didn't think about that. No one's going to want to buy that stuff. Wow. Maybe some cartels, maybe people, governments aren't going to want to do it, but, maybe some, rogue elements, maybe some rogue organizations might, because that's all they can afford. But you will buy an AK-47, hands down, still the best individual firearm out there. I have one, bro. That is my second favorite rifle. My favorite is my M14. I'll never let that go, but that AK is nice.
But now their number one export, which is military hardware. Well, one of their petroleum is their number one export, but one of their top exports is military hardware. We now know their Sukhoi 57s aren't stealth. We now know their Kimzat missile is not hypersonic, and we now know that their T-90 tanks can't stand up to anyone else's tanks. So because of that, they've crippled themselves economically. This is they've wasted a ton of resources. And realistically, unless NATO relents, they're never going to take Kiev. And so I was told when this war started, I was told by everyone, dude, Kiev is going to fall. It's going to be a matter of minutes. And I was like, bro, what happens 3 years from now? We're at 2 years now. What happens 3 years from now when Kiev hasn't fallen? What happens now? Like when you think about from Putin's standpoint, if he doesn't take Kiev, he might die. I don't think people understand that. Like it is not a situation where he's like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. I'll just pull out. Everything's fine. The infrastructure that keeps Putin in office, that infrastructure will swallow him. Does that make sense? So he's literally fighting for his life right now. When they annexed Crimea, there was like a 74% approval rate in Russia. When they now in this invasion of Ukraine, the rest of Ukraine, it's like 14%. And now it's dropping. And I have friends leaving Russia in droves because they do not want to get conscripted into the army to fight this idiotic war that easily could have been avoided if Russia had chosen to base their economy on something other than petroleum. Now,
you know, what he's saying about Putin right now, I get it. I get it. Just imagine you're the lion tamer and you're in the cage, you're locked in the cage with 10 lions. Right. The only reason those lions don't rip you apart is because they're afraid of you. Now, you're doing your thing. Everything's going good. The moment those lions aren't afraid of you anymore, it's over. It's over. All you got is a chair and a whip, right? You got 10 angry lions looking at you. I think that's what Brother Mike is talking about here. Putin is looking around and he was like, man, this organization, this entity that I created, they as long as they're happy with me, man, I can do what I want to do. But now they are not happy. Right. And whatever happens, like Trump is coming in and Trump says, you know, on day one, I'll be able to end, you know, hostilities in Ukraine. No, he can't. He cannot do that. And Putin is not going to accept whatever terms are going to be out there. It's going to be Putin has to win this thing. So it's going to be tough for him, bro. Like if I were Putin, I would have had my exit strategy a long time ago. Look how close he came to being removed by Wagner, his own dudes. Like the Wagner group was driving on their way to Moscow to go deal with him. And somehow he was able to talk his way out of it. Again, you got 10 lions. One of the lions was about to rip you apart. And you was able to get that lion back in check so the other 9 lions don't jump on you. So Putin has a problem. And I think Brother Michael Sertan is right. Like he might be looking at like, bro, they might come for me. They might throw me out of the building. They might blow my airplane up. Putin has an issue. And Americans do believe that the money that's going over there to Ukraine is for weapons. There's tons and tons of money. You know, when America goes and just dumps money off in different countries for proxy wars or whatever, America they don't even know how much cash. They don't know where that money is going. Like the equipment is easy to track. Like, you know, we gave you an Abrams, we gave you 15 Abrams and we can see them on, you know, we know where you have them and we can see them on the, on satellites, whatever. But the cash, you know, a lot of people were saying, oh, the poor Ukrainians, like it's corrupt over there too, bro. Let's not get it twisted. Like we know it's corruption over there, but you know, America wants to stop Putin and the rest of Europe. Now, again, Europe wants to stop Putin. They want to remove him. And the thing is, if you remove Putin, will the next person be worse? You know, I mean, it's just one of those kind of things, bro. You can get an AR-15 and AK-47 mag and cheap Russian ammo over there. Over here, it ain't cheap. It ain't too crazy, but it ain't cheap. But I can imagine in Europe, bro, you could probably get your hands on anything about right now, man. You know, AKs, ARs, whatever. It's crazy. Yeah, Putin is giving Trump the exit plan. And it's one of my things, and this is something that people will get mad at me about, and I say this all the time, and it is what it is. With Donald Trump, I think all you have to do is pay him. You know, if Putin cuts a big enough check to Donald Trump or gives him the rights to, you know, develop and put up towers or whatever and, you know, use the full Russian government to help him make money, I think that he can, you know, set terms, get Trump to set terms for him. The thing is, Trump has some hawks on his side. Like I'm looking at his cabinet and the people he wants to bring in, he's bringing in some hawks. So I don't know how this is going to play out. I really don't. But you know, Putin got problems, bro.
get ready because there's gonna be a bunch of fucker comments
Let's go.
in this video.
Yeah.
And it's gonna buy these bots, these people who are literally. We just found out. Did you see the whole thing where Russia has been paying U.S. Content creators? Russia has been paying, yeah, look at just Google it.
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok.
Oh, it's
Streamers. Russia has been paying these American streamers.
Yeah, Tim Pool.
Tim Pool actually admitted like he'd been getting paid.
What?
Yeah, they've been.
How much
paying,
did he get paid?
There's $10 million that people had been admitting to being paid. But if you want to Google that right now,
Google that, please.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And so Russia had been paying American streamers to sort of like change the narrative. Guys, I'm not saying this because I'm anti-Russia or pro-Ukraine. I've never visited either one of those places.
You should, by the way.
I definitely will. Like from what you explained to me about Kiev, I'm absolutely going to go visit. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm a retired U.S. military officer, and this is the stupidest land invasion I've ever seen. This is the most point. When Hitler invades Russia, I understand why he did it. Now it was a colossal failure, but it wasn't in the beginning. And then when Napoleon invades Russia, that was pretty stupid too. It was a colossal failure, but he actually took Moscow.
Yeah.
So those are pretty stupid, but those weren't pointless. This one is utterly pointless. This is utterly and completely pointless. The idea that the United States and NATO are just going to let Kiev fall, and Kiev, what is it? It's an 8-hour drive to Berlin from Kiev, something like that.
Something like that.
So you just think that we're just gonna NATO's just gonna let the Russians just put like their missiles right next to Berlin, and we're not gonna say anything. Like,
but they got really close. They got really close to taking Kiev because they had to take that airfield right out of Kiev. It's like 20 minutes from where my apartment is.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, just for people to know. I was not. I happened to actually be freaking snowboarding, which saved my fucking life.
Yeah.
I was Primož and I, we went spontaneously to Austria because it was snowing in my hometown, and 3 days in, the invasion happened. But there's an airfield right outside of Kiev, 20 minutes out, and they were this close to fucking getting it, and that was the plan was contingent on that.
Yeah.
That they got the airfield so they could get the supplies and all the extra troops, but they couldn't get it. They were this fucking close.
Yeah.
They were battling there for a handful of hours, and then they couldn't take it. And but if they had taken that, they would have toppled Kiev very quickly.
Yeah.
As to my knowledge.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I mean, the problem is, they seemed way more prepared than the Russians were expecting. The Russians were legitimately. You saw Scott Ritter; he was going
No, because they didn't tell the Russians, the troops, where they were going to go.
Yeah,
they're like, oh yeah, we'll be a training exercise. I don't know how much of that is Western propaganda.
Yeah,
but as far as I heard, when they interview all these Russian troops, they're like, oh, we had no idea we were fighting our brothers, aka Ukrainians.
Yeah,
they told us it would be a fucking training exercise. Yeah. No shit, they weren't ready.
Yeah, well, it's not just that they.
So that whole thing was just, bro. You got soldiers on the ground who their heart's not in the fight. And I'm talking about the Russians. They really don't want to do this. They're getting ground up. You have, the Ukrainians are fighting for their home, and they're going to continue to fight for their home. So they're going to go hard. But on both sides, people are tired of the slaughter. You got, the Ukrainians are having trouble with desertion because these guys are basically there like, bro, we're going to send you out there and you're there until this is over. And it's not like I want to be in the rear with gear. I mean, there is no rear. I mean, everything is active. Like, they're getting bombed everywhere. So it's constant state of war. And these dudes are like, man, I'm trying to get out of this. Same thing with the Russians. Like, Russians are leaving Russia in an alarming rate. This is why Putin probably went to the North Koreans to get North Koreans up there so he can free up. The story was, I want to be able to free up more of my men to go help with the fight so I can use these North Koreans to do logistical stuff. And then it was the old okie doke. As soon as the North Koreans show up, they put them on the front line, and then North Koreans are, they are, getting ground up too. So I think it's crazy. We got brother JSJD in the building. What's good, fam? Yeah, YouTube won't alert you a lot over here, man. Welcome to the shadow ban world over here, man. They shadow ban me all the time. I'm certain of it, man. Like, people like, no, man, ain't nobody messing with you. You too small, bro. I don't know, man. I guess I don't know. But it's good to see you, bro. Talking some politics. We're talking about what's going on in the world. It is what it is. We'll be back to the red pill stuff on Monday for sure. So you're always welcome here. It's always good to see you. Let's get back to the video.
Already, here's what's not propaganda. Kiev is not under Russian control. That's not propaganda. That's the truth. And Russia told us they would be. That's not propaganda. That's the truth. So that's the only thing I would tell. And as far as I'm concerned, the Sukhoi 57s are an utter and complete failure. The new stealth aircraft that the Russians had built to combat the F-22 and the F-35, they've done nothing. Absolutely. They haven't even put one into the field of combat because they know they'll get shot down. because the Americans gave the Ukrainians Patriot missile batteries, which already shot down a Kimzat missile. So like that's incredibly problematic. It's all Russia has done is expose themselves horribly in doing this. Guys, again, I'm not saying this because I between Biden and Trump, I would vote for Trump. I'm not some liberal progressive. I'm telling you this as a retired military officer who studies war. This was a terrible, terrible, terrible miscalculation that will go down in history as one of the most pointless land invasions in history. I'm telling you, in retrospect, people are going to look back and like, Jesus, what the fuck was this guy thinking? Like, sell something other than vodka, caviar, and fucking AK-47s. Change your economy to like more of a technological updated economy, sell something other than petroleum, and maybe you don't have to invade Ukraine. But that's the situation to put themselves.
That was part of the reason.
And this video is also linked in the description below. It's about 18-minute video, 18 and a half minutes or so. I'm sorry, 18 minutes and 20 seconds or so. Yes, about 18 and a half minutes. So I encourage you to check out the rest of it. I haven't seen the entire podcast. I'm pretty sure it's probably over a couple hours. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't found it. But once I do, I'm going to watch it, of course. Again, shout out to Mike Certain. Bro, he's like, hey man, it's like I said, man, like I have the same thought process when it comes to like the military mind that Michael Certain has. I share that, but I'd never vote for Trump. You know, the best I could do is just not vote for anyone. But like this past election, I voted for Harris. It was really a vote against Donald Trump. But hey, it is what it is, man. We lost, bro. And I mean, it is what it is. And it's not that Kamala Harris would have done a better job. She sat there and said that she wouldn't do anything different. When they asked, like, what would you do different than what Joe Biden is doing? Oh, I can't think of anything. I mean, why did you say that? Right? Why did you say that? So my thing is the election is over. The incoming, we have a winner. Donald Trump is the guy. And we're going to see what happens, bro. We're going to see what happens. So, but hey, man, like, I don't care who you vote for in America, man. I'm just glad that you're voting. I've said this a million times and I'll say it a million more. I go vote for who you want to vote for. But yeah, brother Dino is like, what? But like I say, bro, I respect Michael Certain's service and I get it. And his vote for Donald Trump might be a vote against Harris and Biden. So it's not like, well, I'm not like, oh, I'm really on board with this guy. You might just like, I really don't want to deal with what they're offering. I'd rather take my chances on this dude. I'm not making excuses. I'm just kind of thinking it through. Like it is what it is. Bro, and that right there, 12 million Biden votes didn't show up. That tells you a lot right there, doesn't it? Tells you a lot. That means your mission, your message was not well received. The Democrats, they messed this up, bro. They messed this up. You know, and it is what it is. It is what it is. Like they picked the wrong candidate. You know, it's so many different things. One day I might do it. One day I might do a deal short or something and just kind of give my perspective on why the Democrats lost. But I mean, it's real basic, bro. They turned the liberals, the progressives have turned their backs on men, in particular white men, but all men. They just turned their backs on men. And those men went to the message that resonated with them. Simple, point blank, period. It's like 30% of young men were voting for Trump that didn't vote for him in the last cycle, right? So just look at that. If you split that vote right there, if you get 15% of that 30, Democrats would have won. Think about that. You know what I mean? Like just think about that. You know, it is what it is. This is how it works. There are 10 better than Harris. Biden was going to stay for only one term. Yeah, the Democrats, we talked about this before, man. Democratic leadership, they messed it up, man. Biden was the guy who could beat Trump. He did it. Mission accomplished, great. Biden said it was going to be one term, great. And then he changed his mind. And Democratic leadership backed him. That's what they get. They lost. They should have told him, nope. I want another term. Nope. You're barely making it through this one, bro. You don't even know where you are right now. Like, what? Turn around. I'm over here. Quit looking at the wall. Like, Biden wasn't there, bro. So, but they backed him until they couldn't back him anymore. And by that time, it was too late. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. So, it ain't anybody's fault but the Democrats that they lost that thing. It was their race to win, and they lost it. They just gave it away. So, it is what I ain't tripping. It is what it is, bro. So, you guys know China had a soft coup attempt, right? The president of China tried to take he tried to take the country, guys. He tried to take the country, bro. This was crazy. So this thing, like, it was in the middle of the night. He decided he was going to declare martial law, and he was blaming the North Koreans. There was something going on, and the North Koreans were infiltrating or something, he said. So he declares martial law. People find out overnight. They find out, and they're like, what the hell? They come out in mass to protest. They're Korean soldiers in the streets. Man, it was complete chaos. And then the president, by the morning, the president reversed his position, is like, oh, I'm not going to do that now. And now there are calls for him to be impeached. Bro, you got to talk about that. Like, you got to talk about that. You know, it's like the South Korean president is trying to take over the country. What's going on? I don't follow South Korean politics. I doubt if anyone else does. You know what I mean? I don't follow it, but it's just crazy, man. Like I was looking at this thing and I was like, what the hell? All that this past couple news cycles have been crazy, man. Yeah, and I don't know if I said North Korea, I definitely meant South Korea. The South Korean president tried to overthrow his own government, and he was blaming North Korea and something that had to do with the North Koreans. He was blaming them for the thing. So there's CNN has some news out there, and that is like it has to be a deep fake. South Korean opposition leader on martial law announcement. I didn't watch this at all, guys. I'm just gonna, watch it live here with you guys and see what it is. But I saw that when Biden fell asleep, man. Poor dude. Poor Biden, man. Like he just, I fall asleep all the time too. But come on, bro. You got to stay up for this, man. Drink some Red Bull. You know what I mean? Get something to keep you up. Poor guy. Oh, I said China. My bad. Thanks for keeping me straight, bro. I didn't mean to say China. North Korea. That's why we put the North Korean flag in there. Damn it, South Korea. See? For God, you guys think that this YouTube stuff is easy, man. I got newfound respect for the people in front of the camera, although they're on script. Man, this stuff is hard because you're thinking one thing and then something else comes out of your mouth. Like, I didn't mean to say that. So that's why I'm glad I got the chat here to keep me straight, bro. South Korea. So let's check this out, guys. Here's the video.
Hold on to power after all, despite his widely criticized martial law order. Members of his People Power Party say they are against a motion to impeach Yoon Suk-yeol, but opposition leaders are hoping to change some minds before the weekend vote. Lawmakers and protesters descended on Parliament late Tuesday after Yoon's declaration, only to be met by hundreds of soldiers. The president rescinded his martial law decree a few hours later amid fierce backlash.
심지어 윤석열 정권은 국회의사당에
The Yoon administration attempted to seize control of the National Assembly by deploying approximately 250 elite martial law troops to the parliamentary building.
용서할 수도 없고
This is an unforgivable crime, one that cannot, should not, and will not be pardoned.
Meanwhile, South Korea's defense minister is the latest political casualty from the debacle. President Yoon accepted his resignation early Thursday.
Why would that guy fall on his sword so fast, the defense minister? Like, what's going on? Like, I wonder what really happened. Who gave the order and why? Because you got your opposition out there. Could you imagine if a Democratic president, overnight in the middle of the night decides I'm going to declare martial law because the Canadians are coming or something like that. And then people wake up like, what the hell? And they have, the second or third special forces group, or better yet, they got they got the Rangers, you got the 75th Ranger Regiment, out in the streets. It's like, what the hell is going on? When it's all said and done, bro, yeah, you're gonna have to leave. So why would they have the defense minister fall on his sword so fast if the orders came from above? I wonder.
I spoke a short time ago with CNN's senior international correspondent Ivan Watson at the National Assembly in Seoul about what comes next.
Rosemary, it's less than 48 hours ago that President Yoon declared martial law on Korea. And it's just been a remarkable series of events since then. I'm coming to you live from inside the National Assembly, and this is where you had confrontations here between police and soldiers who were sent to try to disrupt a gathering of lawmakers who ultimately succeeded in voting to overrule the president's emergency rule decree. I spoke with the leader of the largest opposition bloc in the National Assembly, the head of the Democratic Party, and I asked him what he felt when he first heard on Tuesday night that the president had declared martial law. Take a listen.
아내가 갑자기 저한테
My wife suddenly showed me a YouTube video and said, the president is declaring martial law. I replied, that's a deepfake. It has to be a deepfake. There's no way that's real. But when I watched the video, the president was indeed declaring martial law. Yet I thought to myself, this is fabricated. It's fake.
Yo, that's crazy, man. People are like, his wife was like, look, it's the middle of the night, man. They probably like half asleep, about to go sleep or something. She's like, look, the president just declared martial law. Nah, that's a deep fake. What you watching? I'm watching YouTube. You can't believe anything you see on YouTube. No, look at this. And they look at it and they probably watch the local news. And it's like, oh my goodness, what the hell? What happened in South Korea, bro, looks like an attempted coup, but not a single round was fired. That's some cool shit right there. I'm pretty sure some people got roughed up. You know, it's probably with some pepper spray. Maybe someone got hit with like a bottle or something like that. I was stationed in Korea once upon a time. This was in the 90s. And one thing about South Korea is that they have riot police always on standby in Seoul. I was in Seoul, and there was always some sort of demonstration or protest going on somewhere in the city. And the big old flags, and people are sitting down like the people in this picture, locking arms and stuff like that. And then the police come out with the baseball gear on, bro. They got the baseball knee pads on and shin pads and the helmets, what the LAPD calls hats and bats. They come out with the batons and the shields. And I mean, they're just ready at a moment's notice. But I don't recall ever seeing the military getting involved. That's the part right there. Like, yo, you got not just the military, but you got tip of the spear soldiers out here. That would be inexcusable.
So then what that lawmaker succeeded in doing was he rushed to this location. He was actually streaming on YouTube. His wife was driving the car, and he was blocked from entering the National Assembly headquarters. And he was streaming on his YouTube channel how he jumped over a wall and came in here. And he actually told me that he hit mute by accident on his live broadcast. So there's no audio on it as he kind of comes into the building. The lawmakers had assembled in there, and 190 of them voted unanimously to overturn martial law there. And now the focus appears to be on what comes next, with the main opposition party, the Democratic Party, calling for impeachment. And we've also just learned that they're issuing that they're filing charges not only against President Yoon, but also against his defense minister, who has since resigned, the Army chief of staff, the head of the police, as well as several other military commanders and a minister of safety, accusing them of carrying out insurrection to disrupt the constitutional order with what they did there. I'll add another fact, and by the way, the police commissioner has since said that he doesn't believe that what took place that night amounted to a crime, as he's being accused of that. This is the entry to the hall of the National Assembly there, and the opposition lawmakers are refusing to leave that chamber. They're staying there in shifts, even throughout the night, sleeping there, because they say that they are worried that President Yoon could try to declare martial law yet again. So they are literally performing a vigil in there to protect what they say are their constitutional rights, which is, if you get enough lawmakers, a majority in there, they can vote to overturn a martial law decree. Back to you.
Yo, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. Now, here's the thing, in Korea, the North and South, back in the 50s, had a war. And that war is just under a ceasefire. The war was never resolved. So this will only go so far. The North Koreans are sitting on the DMZ watching. And if the South Koreans get involved in some sort of fight, the North Koreans will just come rushing in. And all the Koreans are keenly aware of this. America is keenly aware of this. NATO is keenly aware of this. So I think it's cool that they're using their political process to handle this. Right? They're not out there, cracking heads open, they're out there popping off at everybody, because people can get their hands on weapons in South Korea. At least the military guys can, because the North Koreans are right there, and they need to be able to get to arm themselves or whatever. They have anti-aircraft batteries on top of some of the buildings. It's like they understand they're still at war with North Korea. It's just a ceasefire. They haven't forgotten about that. And the Koreans know how to fight. Like the South Koreans really know how to fight. It's not like the South Vietnamese. I have uncles who served in both theaters. I had an uncle he was in South Korea during the war, and he was in Vietnam during the war. And I remember as a kid, we would sit around and he would show videos, like, those old school videos of, what he saw and what he was doing. It was my Uncle Doug. And he told us, he's like, bro, he's like, the South Koreans can really fight, like the ROK Army, the ROK Marines, man, those dudes are for real. He's like, the South Vietnamese, man, they're a joke. They're just a bunch of puppets, man. Like they had no will to fight. They were nothing. And I never forgot that. And when I found myself stationed in Korea, I saw what he was talking about, man. Every man in Korea serves. They serve. And there's different ways for, like, rich people got the Katusas, because that kind of gets you away from that ROK Army, ROK Marine stuff, ROK Air Force. You can get to the Air Force, which is not as intense. But most Koreans, they go through it. And you can look at the stuff like that Johnny Somali guy. He's over there doing whatever, and he finds himself getting beat up by Korean soldiers, former Korean soldiers. They're out there just beating his butt. So it's crazy over there, man. Like, it's crazy over there. Wow.
Rosemary.
Also joining me from Seoul, John Nilsson Wright is a Northeast Asia specialist at Cambridge University and Chatham House. Appreciate you talking.
And I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you want to watch the rest of the video, it's linked below. I'll probably watch that a little bit later, but that is insane. The president of South Korea, tried to impose martial law and basically is going to just take over. Wow. Definitely going to keep my eye on that. And then last but not least, bro, there's one last thing I want to talk about here. And I get it. Like, we're talking news and politics. This isn't as flashy and as the red pill stuff, but we're definitely going to continue talking about the red pill stuff, man. On Mondays, I'm going to be pulling up. There's so many women talking about red pill things this year now, because there's so many more people on YouTube. And I think every Monday we're just going to start pulling up some of the best clips that I can find of women talking about what's going on out here. I want to talk, like, look at the women who are, pro red pill, and look at the women who are anti-red pill, like the feminists. And so we're going to be doing that on Monday. But on Thursday, we're going to be doing this, talking politics and stuff like that, man. Like, it is what it is. Brother Dino, like, do you think DeSantis would take the defense secretary job if offered? I think so. Yeah, it gets him out of Florida. He could put someone else in the governor's mansion, and he doesn't have to answer for all of the stuff that's going wrong down here with insurance and stuff like that. I think he would take it. And he would be able to get confirmed. The problem with a lot of the Trump picks, these people can't, they're not going to get confirmed, but DeSantis absolutely, I think, would get confirmed. Would he do a good job? Don't know about that. But yeah, I think he would take it, bro. I think he would definitely want to get out of Florida. Because things are crazy down here, man. So the last thing in the news, man, the CEO assassination. The guy in New York for United Healthcare CEO was assassinated. And like I said, as of 3:30, they had pictures of a person of interest. I don't know if they took him into custody yet. Since we've been talking, here it is. Since 3:30, here it is 6:30 now. Maybe they've caught him by now. So I wanted to touch on this a little bit. I might be doing a full either a DL short or a broadcast about this because, man, it's crazy. It's crazy the information that's coming out about this. Do I think Donald Trump Jr. will replace DeSantis? I don't know how it works in Florida. I don't know if the outgoing governor gets to pick his successor, or if it goes to the state house and they pick a successor, or or will it be a special election? I don't know how that works in Florida. We'll see. Do I think the people of Florida would like to see Donald Trump Jr. as the governor? I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a Republican state. There are a lot of Trump supporters, but there are a lot of anti-Trump people. And, you know, Donald Trump Jr. is not Donald Trump. So I don't know how that would play out, bro. We'll definitely keep our eyes on it, but I don't know how that will play out. And governor of Florida, I wouldn't want to deal with it because it's just a mess right now. Maybe the lieutenant governor steps up. I don't know how it works. I really don't. But this last thing, this is Breaking Points. They're talking about what's going on with this guy, the CEO. And in mainstream media, everyone is like, oh, this poor man, and they're talking about how great he is, and he's a dad, and he's married, and all this other kind of stuff. But on Breaking Points, they were looking at the other side of it. They're like, bro, this dude is part of the healthcare system, which is grimy and is hurting Americans, it's destroying people. He's part of it. You know, they're not saying that this guy was justified in what he did. In fact, they're saying it was bad, which I agree. This is bad. This is not how you handle business. But there are comments on Facebook about what's going on, and they were talking about it. I thought it was fascinating. Let's take a look.
He had been receiving. And we also have some stuff that broke just very late last night. NYPD detectives have discovered the words, quote, deny, defend, and depose, which were written on shell casings that were found at the scene. Deny, Defend, and Depose is the title of a book, which is specifically about how insurance companies deny coverage to patients. So it does appear to be an act of retribution, or appears to be some sort of act of retribution against the United Healthcare CEO. The book itself, here, I can pull up the cover in front of me. Yeah, it's delay, deny, defend, why insurance companies don't pay claims and what you can do about it. Apparently it's a well-known kind of moniker and a playbook that people have always talked about, these insurance companies. So it does appear to be an act of revenge, Crystal. And obviously that alludes also to kind of the reaction around this, which has certainly run the gamut. I guess we could say that.
I don't think it has run the gamut. I think by and large, listen, let's all be adults here.
Yeah.
Nobody here condones murder in broad daylight, targeted assassinations, etc.
It's insane. Yeah.
Yes, of course. But we also have at the show made it clear when a powerful person who did great evil in the world, we don't mince words when that person dies, is killed, etc. And this is a person who caused great harm, death, bankruptcy, debt, and injury to probably millions of Americans. And so, you know, there was a lot of like, oh, the left is like celebrating this viciously. Let me tell you, it wasn't just the left. We're going to show you later on. If you go on Facebook, not exactly like the bastion of the socialist revolution, and you look at the reaction there, if you look at the reactions on TikTok, I mean, it was across the board. And so I think people should think like political class, executive class, billionaire class need to think really deeply about how people feel about this disgusting, evil system that this person was a part of. So we can put, you know, up on the screen, you know, you're talking about the motive. Obviously, yesterday it was all speculation because obviously there would be many people who would have a motive to do harm to this individual. And quite frankly, you know, again, and this is us being adults here, not condoning, but it's shocking that something like this hasn't happened before, given the amount of pain, death, and suffering that this industry overall causes. And this was a very, you know, powerful person in terms of that industry. You know, we can put A5 up on the screen in terms of claim denial rates. United Healthcare was apparently the worst. 32% of claims denied by this company. We also know that, they are being sued right now because they've been using this AI that reportedly, according to the lawsuit, has some 90% error rate to reject people's claims. And, you're hard pressed to find an American family that hasn't been negatively impacted by this disgusting, horrible system. So, if people are shocked by the reaction that has sort of flowed down of the entire nation in response to this killing, I don't think that you should be shocked, because most people have some sort of story. I mean, in my own family, like Kyle's dad very possibly would still be alive and have been at our wedding if it wasn't for our fucked up health insurance system. So, there's a lot of anger and horror at what this looks like in this country.
Yeah, the deny, defend, depose gets to some patience in terms of denial of coverage and the way that the insurance companies are able to work that system. Yeah, I mean, as you just said, let's all be real and adults. Like murdering people in vigilante, or not even vigilante, like murdering people in cold blood in the middle of New York City is bad, unironic.
When they look at this, bro, like those words, is from that book. But the reason they bring it up is because on the shell casings found at the scenes, those words were written on some of the shells. So they knew, like, okay, yeah, this isn't a pro. This guy definitely has an axe to grind. And, you can even hear when Crystal was talking about it, like the American healthcare system is garbage. People go bankrupt over it. Like I had to go to the emergency room when I had my back issue, and I used my VA benefits, which didn't cost me anything out of pocket. Had I used my insurance, it would have cost me easily $250 for that. I think it would have been more. I think it'd been like $500. And I had pretty good insurance. There are people out there who have to pay way more. There's people who don't have insurance at all. And you go out there and you get these bills and you just can't, that's it. That's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And when you're thinking you're covered, and you think that, well, I barely go to the hospital. I've never gone. I haven't been in over 5 years. I go, and then you're telling me my claim has been denied. So instead of paying $500, you're paying like maybe $5,000 or $10,000. Fat Joe, the rapper, is working with an organization that simply wants to mandate that the hospitals and emergency rooms have to post their pricing. So if you go into the hospital and it's like, okay, we need to do an MRI. Okay, well, how much is it? So just imagine if all the hospitals had to post their MRI prices, and you can look at it like, oh, I need an MRI. I'm going to go over here to County General instead of being over here at Christ Mercy, or instead of being at Kaiser, because they have the cheapest price. And when people lose loved ones over these extended battles over insurance, man, I mean, you just kind of lose it. You lost everything. Just imagine if you lost a child or something like that through this bullshit. And bro, that's no difference than them coming to your house and doing something to your kid and deleting them. You're gonna go find them and want to do something about it. And then this CEO of allegedly the worst healthcare company, when he's stacked up against all the others, dude is making his money on your suffering. Like, they're figuring out ways to delay and not pay, and you fall off, but they get all that money. Bro, I'm telling you, people are going to react a certain way when this happens.
Ironically, what we have seen, though, is I'm even surprised by it, and I've seen a lot of social analysts and others who have reacted to the killing itself in terms of the outcry from a lot of the public, where there is some deep-seated rage here. We can talk about that just analytically in terms of, look, we just had an election, right? Donald Trump won the White House. People are very
a lot of rage there too
with the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking back to it. Alex Berenson made the analysis. He's like, I don't think anything like this has happened in the post-World War II era. I think he's right in terms of a major targeted assassination of a CEO. But this really harkens back to some of the violence and anarchist violence in the period of like 1900
like the
to
Gilded Age.
1937. Yeah, it's like post-Gilded, more like the latter age of the Gilded Age. A lot of the violence around labor and the relationship between the major company and the citizen, but also just like literal anarchists and others' theory of like, we have to strike back through genuine violence against
Right. And think about it. Archduke Ferdinand and his wife. I mean, that's literally what kicked off World War I, but that was anarchists doing their thing, kind of doing this like we've had enough. We're fed up. He's got a point.
People who are like this. You know, we saw some of that actually, like you said, on the comments reacting to this. We can go ahead and
This
put
is A10, guys.
please, on the screen. And this was put out, and for example, some of the top comments, people are like, I'm sorry, prior authorization is required for thoughts and prayers. Sending prior authorization, denied claims, collections, and prayers to the family. Was his trip to the ER really emergent? And it's crazy what my first thought was. And then I look at the comments and realize that I am not alone in my thoughts. So clearly there's a lot of people who are out there who are very, very upset with the healthcare system. You know, even bringing it back to just the crime, I saw some analysis where they're like, this is an insane crime because there are 20 million people who could be potential suspects.
That's right.
In carrying this out. And if you look at some of the, if you look at currently, the fact is that when you murder someone in New York City, actually pretty much if you murder someone anywhere, it's not all that difficult to narrow down the range of suspects. And especially New York is one of the most surveilled countries in the world. I mean, in terms of not only police officers, this is Midtown Manhattan. Anybody who's been there, there are police everywhere.
And, you know, here's the thing. They're going to catch this guy if they haven't caught him already. They already have a person of interest in mind. They're going to get this guy. If they haven't gotten him already, they're going to get this guy. So I don't think that's the point. I think this dude may want to be caught, you know. When the election was going on and all the stuff was going on with Trump and anti-Trump and this and that, the left and right, and people were saying, oh, there's going to be a civil war. Like, my whole stance on that was like, not over an election, not over a candidate. No, I don't think so. And my biggest reason for that is like, because you don't have any factions. What group is going to stand against another group, and what's going to be the catalyst for all this? I mean, it's not gonna boil down to a vote, or, someone like Donald Trump gets a second term, although it's split. It's not unprecedented. It's happened before in American political history. It's not a big deal. I just didn't see that coming. I don't see that coming. I don't agree with that. But something like this, well, that changes the whole scenario. Right? Because now it's like, well, who are the factions? It's the 99, the bottom 99 versus the 1%. If you got people out there like, I've had enough, I'm gonna go out here and I'm going after these, these CEOs, these billionaires, I'm going after these people. What are the 1% gonna do? How are they gonna respond to that? Right? The 1% controls both parties. I talk about it all the time. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. They're all controlled by the same people. Right? We know who's behind the curtain. It's the 1%. So if people start going after them in this manner, and, you got anarchists out here trying to assassinate people, doing whatever, I don't even want to say other means, you guys just think of carnage and what it could do. Okay. So what's the 1% going to do? Or they're going to say, oh, maybe we should change the healthcare system, or, oh, maybe we should bring the middle class back and pay people, wages that are going to allow them to prosper and buy products. No, they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is put pressure on the elected officials, put pressure on the White House to protect them. And when they apply that pressure, if the elected officials or whoever's in the White House overreach and innocent people get hurt, i.e., you pull up the guard, or you sanction the 1% to have special security, and you let, these guys do whatever. They're going around here cracking heads open and popping people, right? So now you're going to have a line, and there's going to be people on either side of that. So that can spiral into something that can look like a civil war. That's my concern. I hope that we nip this in the bud. I hope that we can do something to keep my nightmare scenario for coming true, because that's the problem. Everyone, where you at, bro. If it's the 99 versus the 1, where you at. So that's my fear. Now, now when people talk about it, I'm like, well, with this, bro, I don't know. It could happen, man, because who hasn't been negatively affected by, dealing with their insurance companies or whatnot, You know, look what's going on down here in Florida. People are being denied their claims left and right, man. We had these storms come through here. These people have been paying their insurance. They've been paying these bloated premiums, and now it's time to get the insurance money, and they can't. They can't. And then you do investigations and find out that it's the insurance companies who are basically cheating you. And those instructions, those orders are coming from the very tip top. I think the CEO, like the guy was there in New York for some sort of conference. What was he going to talk about in the conference? This is how we are cheating our customers. This is how we're, making all this money. Like, bro, you're not innocent. Right. And this is still America. At some point, they're going to figure it out. We got all this technology. People can see it in real time. Like, bro, and then what's going to happen to that 1%? Is he going to get locked up? No, y'all saw what happened with the housing crisis. You saw what happened with that. When TARP came around and the government took money from everyday Americans and gave it to Wall Street, bailed everybody out, except for the poor folks. Y'all saw what happened with that. People know the system doesn't work, not to knock Donald Trump, but dude was looking at some serious crimes that he committed when he was in office last time with the secret documents and stuff like that. It was no way he was going to beat that case. The only way to beat the case is to become president again, and he did, or get a pardon. Right? He was already convicted at the state level in New York. Again, I think that was all trumped up, but he still was convicted felon. The January 6th thing out of DC, that's gone away. The secret documents case out of Miami, that's gone away. The Georgia stuff, that's gone away. The 1% lives by different rules. And when people see that, you see they're doing something wrong, you're like, okay, go get them. Let's use the criminal system so we can get justice. You don't get any justice, then what do? They gonna do it a different way. And that could lead us to some sort of armed conflict. I could be wrong. If tell me what you guys are thinking. Put it in. If you're watching Team Replay, man, put it in the comments below. I'm not calling for that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Americans turn guns on each other. I don't want to see that. That's ugly. You want to know how ugly that can get? Watch that movie, Civil War. To me, that's what that movie was about, just to show you how ugly it could get, irregardless of what led to them actually doing it. But look what could happen, the total chaos. I don't want to see something like that. So that's my take on that. I was going to do a video about it, but you know what? I'm like, we're talking about politics. I just tack it on to the end of this. Maybe I'll clip this and post it, but This is wild, guys. This is wild. We're gonna hear the story. We're gonna hear this story. We're gonna figure out why this assassin did what he did. They're gonna give us everything. He's gonna give us his side of it. It's just a matter of time before they catch the guy. I just hope that this guy gets to tell his story, or at least his loved ones can tell a story as to what happened. We can piece this together. Obviously, he wants to say something. He's marking up shell casings, right? Again, he's like Sagar was saying, like, you go to New York to do something like this, man, there's cameras everywhere, especially that part of New York, bro. That's where the 1% roam. So what's going to happen, man? What is going to happen? Yeah, they got a smiling face in the news. If in fact that is him, that was released by the NYPD. The guy who's smiling there, that's the guy who is wanted for questioning. And, he's a person of interest. I don't think they called him an official suspect yet. I don't know. Maybe they did. And, we don't know when he was smiling. That could have been a picture when he first got there and signed into the hostel. They believe he was staying at this particular hostel, and he may have been smiling about that. I doubt if it was after he did the deed, but who knows? But right now, there's a white man out there running around New York that they want, that, he had a pistol. And that's another reason, too. I don't think the guy was a pro. He didn't leave the pistol on the scene. He wasn't wearing gloves. You would be wearing gloves. You would do what you're gonna do. You would leave the weapon at the scene, and you'd have gotten way closer. The reports where he was 20 feet away with a sidearm. You're nervous. You're not really trained like that. You got a suppressor on there. 20 feet away, you're gonna miss a lot, which he did. Allegedly, he fired 7 rounds, scored 2 hits, one in the leg, one in the back. So 2 rounds out of 7, that ain't good. And it was the CEO, Codius King's in the building. It was the CEO of United Healthcare He was shot yesterday morning in New York. And he died of his wounds, and they're looking for the guy who that they believe is responsible. They haven't caught him yet, but I'm telling you, man, this could lead to the conflict that everyone keeps talking about. And it has nothing to do with who got elected. It has everything to do with the 1% and the bottom 99, and that widening gap between the have and have nots. You know, when people lose everything they've worked their ass off their entire life to get because someone got sick or someone got hurt and they go bankrupt. And then, you know, dealing with these people when they're like, they want their money and they do what they do. And it's like, you're not even paying. It's like, what do you mean this isn't covered? This is covered. I didn't have a pre-existing condition. This just happened. Like, nope, this isn't covered. You know, when that happens, man, people come looking for folks. Right. And look at what Cody is saying right off rip. He's like, yeah, probably karma. Yep. He says probably karma. I mean, there's a lot of people in the 1%, man, who are just standing there because they have taken from the poor, the downtrodden. They've taken from regular people and they don't care. I'm not saying that's true about all the 1%ers. I look at someone like Patrick Bet-David. You know, I don't think he's like that, but there are people out there that says, nope, he had pyramid schemes and he was out there taking from people too. So, I mean, you know, these well, it was the multi-level marketing. They get on PBD about that. It's like, bro, you know, you look at the 1%, there are people who were billionaires born into it, but then you get into their family history, like, well, how did you get all this money? And it normally came from someone else, or the corporation did something and took money. So it's like you said, man, karma's a motherfucker, bro. It's a motherfucker. So I hope that this thing ends quick. I hope they catch the guy. You know, this guy will get his day in court, and they'll be able to talk about the healthcare system. Watch this video. It's a 22-minute video. Watch the video because they talk about this. Like, this guy, you know, there's theories out there like this guy wants to get caught. If he gets caught, this thing goes to court, and then he can basically, through this case, prosecute the healthcare system. And, you know, people going to see all this stuff. So maybe the guy was trying to be a martyr. Who knows? But I don't agree with what he did, but I understand why he did it. I'll just leave it there. So that's it, guys. Thanks for rocking out with me. This was, I guess this was fun, man. I really do enjoy, you know, doing YouTube. I mean, it could be tough. I look at, you know, the comments and I see what people are really liking. So we're definitely going to continue with our red pill stuff. So we'll just use Thursday, maybe every other Thursday. We'll talk about political stuff, but we're going to, you know, like I said, start Monday, bro. We're going to get right back into the red pill things. We see so many men are having so much trouble out there, and, you know, podcasts like this podcast and Fresh and Fit and, you know, all the other podcasts out there, they're trying to help men, you know, like Michael Surtain, you know, Rich Cooper, Donovan Sharp, even though Donovan he's cut way back, but you got Coach Greg Adams. There's so many dudes out here just trying to help. Like, hey, you know, and I'm not the guy. Like, if you're looking for someone to be screaming at some silly girls, I'm not the dude for that. You know, go watch whatever podcast, go watch After Hours on Fresh and Fit. But if you just want someone who's going to, you know, talk about the game, you know, you're going to talk about how you should be moving, going to talk about, you know, your fitness and talk about your fashion and, you know, how to break the ice and how to move, I'm your dude. Come holler at old Uncle Saint. We can have those conversations and I can show you how to move. And we can also talk about the game in respect to, you know, getting yourself a nice job and transitioning to a nice career, and, you know, how to move when things get good and how to move when things are bad. We're going to talk about all that stuff over here. And I'm working with a brother who's in Tampa as well. We're working on we got a plan to do a podcast, which will be in real life at his place of business. He has a bar, and we're going to be bringing, hopefully we get this thing off the ground. You know, we're going to be bringing women in to have conversations. Again, we're not going to be trying to dunk on anyone. We're not going to be yelling. It's just going to be conversations. We want you to hear from these ladies, you know, what they're thinking out here in the streets. How do, you know, I want you to see when, you know, talk to a woman, they're like, yeah, you know, I guess I don't see all the men. Like, women aren't seeing these dudes who aren't out here being the best versions of themselves. And we want you to be the best version of yourself. We want you to go out there and kill it. And also, you guys know I'm a retired air traffic controller. You guys just missed a hire. The FAA just hired a bunch of air traffic controllers and they sent them off to training. Some of our guys got in, and actually we have a guy who actually made it through all the training, and he's at his airport, and now he's going to do the real air traffic control training. Like, I know it's a long thing, but guys, we mean what we say. We're trying to show you the way. We had it was a guy who was out here. I met him here in Central Florida. He was literally digging ditches and fixing air conditionings and working on roofs and fixing cars and just, it's like, hey man, you want to try this? We can get you to the FAA, bro. No matter where you land, you'll be making at least 6 figures, if not more. And guess where he is? Right? He is well on his way to 6 figures. Young man who is killing the game right now. Although he has some hiccups with girl problems, I was trying to tell him. He hit me up. Should have listened to you, Uncle Saint. Should have listened to you. You were right. It's like, it's not about me being right, bro. And this is, and then we got into the situation. Tell me what's going on. And we were able to work our way through that situation, because I'm going to say this and I'm going to close out. A lot of times, man, when you're dealing with the wrong woman, bro, the worst parts always happen when you least expect it, and the worst timing, right? He was going through a very stressful part. Like, this is key. Like, bro, this is it. If you don't fail, if you fail this, if you don't pass this section, it's over. Game over. You don't get a second bite at the apple either. It's over. And this is when he had the drama. But we were able to like, man, stay focused. He was able to call me and reach out. We were able to talk. Hey, man, stay focused. I know this shit's tough, but we need to get through this, bro. Let's get through this. And he got through it. And now he's on his way. So this is what we're doing over here. This is what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to help, bro. We are trying to help. So appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for rocking with me. We got a couple of comments in. Is he Batman? It's not Batman. He's not Batman. But he is. He's been in the chat a few times. I'm gonna let him identify himself. Actually, I want to get him on. We're gonna do another video so we can talk about the entire process. I'm looking forward to that, but I got to make sure that it's cleared, because now he's playing the big boy games, man. He's with the FAA, and we got to run things through the union and run through the FAA to make sure he's okay to actually come talk to us. And if not, he'll just tell me everything. I'll write it down and I'll make sure you guys understand what's going on. But that's it. That's all I got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. This was Trump Thursday, where we talk politics and news and everything else. Let me know in the comments if you guys liked it. If you thought this was cool, should we keep doing it? Should we do it just once a month? Should we do it once a week? Let me know what you guys are thinking. I already know that you guys want to see more of the Red Pill content, and it's coming. So I'm gonna try to do some stuff this weekend. I got one of my Red Pill buddies are in town from Texas. We might even, maybe we'll be able to figure something out. Maybe get some content. But otherwise, I'm definitely gonna holler at him tomorrow anyway. We got plans to meet up, and we'll be back Monday, bro. We'll be back Monday. We're gonna be doing what we do, and definitely we're gonna continue to do the Wednesday Red Pill Roundup. I like that. Every Wednesday, we're just going to be doing a roundup, and we're just going to be talking about all sorts of Red Pill stuff, man. That was fun. We're going to definitely do that. Market calendars every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. So hope you guys are doing well. Have a good weekend. I'll be talking to y'all soon. I'm DL Saint. This is the I Really Want to Know podcast. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.